Picture this. Peter Jaggers, a notorious South African gang leader, believed he could outplay the world's most ruthless criminals. But when a billion-rand drug shipment vanished into thin air, he found himself in a deadly clash between the Colombian cartel and the Bulgarian Mafia. Lies, betrayal, and desperation fueled a chain of kidnappings and revenge that spiraled out of control. How does a man who plays both sides survive in a world where loyalty means nothing and greed rules all?
Crime Crisis Committee says that there have been at least 200 people who either have been shot and killed or shot and injured in gang crossfire just in the last 3 weeks.
An astounding 1 billion rand worth of dope vanished in a drug deal gone wrong off the coast of Simontown. The Bulgarian Mafia and a violent Colombian cell were unwilling to take the loss. Both were ready to escalate the situation to the next level, and the man at the center of this chaos was a 28 gang leader suspected by the cartel of double-crossing them. What followed next was a deadly game of revenge. Shootings and kidnappings erupted in the aftermath of the missing shipment, with tensions escalating to fatal levels.
On the morning of Friday, 11th of October, locals made a grim discovery. The corpses of two men, one being Jaggers and the other his associate, William Peterson, showed unmistakable signs of having been subjected to severe torture.
Now, in this video, we'll explore the rising influence of international drug cells in South Africa and the kidnapping of the 28 gang leaders by the Colombians. South Africa has become a key player in the global DOP trade with a growing domestic market and ties reaching Europe, Hong Kong, and Australia. The DOP flows from South America and Brazil are to be packed explicitly in shipping containers and moved through the country before reaching other destinations. Now, South Africa's corrupt police force, world-class transport infrastructure, and a lack of resources to control the dope trade make it a perfect getaway. With the highest rate of dope consumption in Africa, the stage is set for a battle between international and regional and local crime syndicates. In 2021, a significant blow struck when 3 Bulgarian men were sentenced to 60 years in prison after almost 1,000 breaks of dope with $500 million rents was discovered hidden in the hull of a fishing vessel docked at Santa Bay Harbor. Now the bust, one of the largest in South African history, came from a tip-off cop. Still, it only revealed the tip of the iceberg.
Jaggers, who was the notorious head of the terrible Josters, went missing following a bungled drug transaction that resulted in a massive cocaine shipment vanishing, and has now been found dead after months of uncertainty and dread.
The Bulgarian, Serbian gangsters and other international CRI networks have entrenched themselves in the country, but after the Santa Bay bust, it became clear they needed another strategy. They tended to local gangs, letting them handle the risky work while they orchestrated operations from the shadows. Several police teams raided the foreign fishing vessel late last night, and drugs totaling 583 million rand were found hidden in compartments. An intelligence-driven multidisciplinary operation was discovered on the Sana coast, where 973 code blocks stretched into fishing vessels' compartments.
The Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation, commonly referred to as the Hawks, has announced that it is investigating the abduction of a suspected gang leader by a Colombian drug cartel, which is asking for a $2.8 million ransom.
On Monday evening, it all began when the Bulgarians struck a deal for a massive dope shipment, with the Colombians relying on the terrible user gang leader as their key middleman. Now, Peter Jaggers, a trusted underworld figure, was tasked with overseeing the operation. The plan was simple, but risky. The shipment would be smuggled from South America on a cargo vessel and dropped at a discreet location with the GPS tracking device of Simonstown, far from the prying eyes of the harbor. Peter assembled the crew of 6 men and prepared a fishing boat equipped with a hidden compartment designed to stash the dope. Now, under cover of the night, they set off navigating the dark waters to retrieve the shipment, but according to the official report, things took a turn for the worse. The boat ran out of fuel while they were still at sea. With bad weather rolling in, the situation quickly spiraled out of control. Now stranded and vulnerable, the crew had no choice but to call for emergency services. They were rescued, but the dope with millions was lost in the ocean, or so it seemed. In the shadowy streets of the underworld, rumors began to make the rounds. Some whispered that a second boat had been involved in a backup plan shrouded in secrecy. Others suspected that the first boat was running out of fuel. It wasn't an accident at all. It was part of a larger, more sinister scheme that now had the gang sold off the dope and distanced themselves from the whole deal. Was Peter playing a double game? No one knows for sure. The truth remains buried beneath layers of suspicion and deceit. Peter informed both the Colombians and the Bulgarians that the vessel had sunk and the entire shipment of dope was lost at sea. Now the cartels were furious, demanding answers. Now in a rush to salvage the situation, they summoned Peter and his right-hand man, Tehen, for an emergency meeting to explain the disaster.
Jaggers and Peterson's kidnapping was allegedly linked to the rescue of 6 fishermen who were lost at sea over the Easter weekend. It was reported that the men went fishing, but their rubber duck ran out of fuel. The insider stated this was a failed attempt by the men to collect the weight shipment.
According to an intelligence report obtained by News 24, Peter, his right man, and a third individual arrived at the OR Tambo International Airport around 11 p.m. that night. From there, they were swiftly escorted to Emperor's Palace, where they checked into a luxurious hotel, but the sea before the storm didn't last long. Just hours after settling in, Peter and his guide left the hotel for a meeting with the Bulgarians and the Colombians, and that was the last time anyone saw them. The mystery only dipped from there. The intelligence report suggested that the third individual, someone known to News 24, had introduced Peter to the Bulgarian Mafia, and that individual is now in hiding, and was rumored to be involved in the deal's collapse. That person's wife and child were allegedly kidnapped, though these reports remain unconfirmed. 5 days after Peter's disappearance, his wife filed a missing persons report with the police. Her statement revealed that she had been waiting to hear from her husband since June. On the 30th of 2024, he left their home at 5 p.m., bound for Kaiton International Airport, where he caught a flight to OR Tambo. According to her, Peter was picked up by foreign men from Bulgaria and Serbia, and he has yet to return home. What do you make of the apparent disappearance of the apparent kidnapping of Peter Jaggers, LGE gang boss here in Cape Town? According to his family's last meeting with international cartel members in Ken, it has not been seen since. One of the voice notes sent directly to Peter's wife was especially chilling. It said, "We are not playing. You have 24 hours to bring the money or return the stuff, or we will come after your families." Now, the threat was suffocating, and with each passing day, the danger grew. Now, screenshots of frantic negotiations between Peter's people and the cartel exposed the depth of the crisis. His family pleaded desperately for alternatives, offering whatever they could do to de-escalate the situation. But the cell's response was merciless. "But we didn't get our stuff. We bombed your house." There was no room for compromise, only a deadly game with the rules written by the cartel, where one wrong move could lead to a violent end. The clock was ticking and a thread hung Peter's fate and his family's. The Hawks confirmed they had been pulled into the high-stakes investigation of Peter's abduction. The case has shifted to the Ambo International Airport SAPS and is now in the hands of the Johannesburg-based Hawks South Africa's Narcotics Bureau. With each passing day, the pressure intensifies. Whether Peter will be found is uncertain, and the odds grow more dangerous by the day. In the ruthless world of drug sales and organized crime, disappearance like this rarely ends well. Now the Colombian demands to return the missing dope shipment, pay the 50 million rands, or face deadly consequences, and the clock has been ticking. 4 months after the kidnapping news broke, 2 bodies have been found in the Klip River near Oroville in the Free State. Just after 2 p.m. on 11 October 2024, a passerby spotted the first body near a bridge. When the police diving unit arrived, they discovered the second one only a meter away.
On the 11th of October 2024, 4 months after the kidnapping of Peter Jaggers and William Peterson, their bodies were found in a Free State dam, with their bodies submerged underwater with chains and sandbags, and their bodies were in a state of decomposition.
By 16th October, police confirmed that the victims were Peter and his accomplices. Their families made the grim identification, and the news wasn't a shock for some. The Colombians had promised retaliation. It was only a matter of time now that Peter's death doesn't slow down the game of dope dealing for the terrible josters. It simply opens the door for the following ambitious contender, ready to take his place in the violent world of dope Dion in the Western Cape. In the shadowy underworld of South Africa, Peter's fate was sealed, but the game doesn't end here. His death only set the stage for more chaos as new players rose to claim his throne. The cartel's grip tightens, drug routes flourish, and violence continues to seep into the streets. South Africa stands at a crossroads, caught between ambition and an unstoppable tide of crime. The question remains, who will fall next in this deadly saga?